Hi, it's Phil Stacy, Executive Sports Editor at the Salem News. Welcome to our first Bandied About podcast of the 2025-2026 high school and I suppose college sports season. I am joined, as always, by my compatriots here at the Salem News and Gloucester Times, Matt Williams, Assistant Sports Editor, and Nick Giannino, Sports Editor of the Gloucester Times, who looks like he has a new haircut. What's up there,
Yeah,
gentlemen? Yeah,
I trimmed it up. I got a wedding next week. Went a little short, but
a
it'll
little
grow
off the
back.
top. Yeah, I need one myself. I'm starting
Yeah.
to pop a little bit, but I digress. All right, so first podcast of the new school year, and today we are going to focus on high school football. 15 teams that we cover between the two newspapers, primarily in the Northeastern Conference, but we do Cape Ann League, we do Catholic Central League, we do Catholic Conference, we do Eastern Independent League. Previews are out in the newspaper today, Thursday, September 4th, as we record this. But we'll be doing football all season, obviously, covering games, writing previews, doing features, compiling stats, whatnot. Today, we want to give you a quick 2-minute rundown on each of our teams. That sound good, guys? We just kind of go through rapid fire motion here on every team. And I thought it might be neat if I can share the screen here with you guys to do to make sure we stay on point, as we say, to do a like a 2-minute clock that we can just run down here. So you'll be literally on the clock as we do this, okay? So we're football focused today. Uh, Season starts tomorrow in earnest. We got Friday night games, we got a Saturday game, and we're off and running in week one. Guys, are you ready?
Let's do it.
All
Yes,
right. Let's start in the Northeastern Conference because that's where most of our teams reside, at least in our coverage area of the two newspapers. And Willie, why don't we start with you with your Peabody Tanners?
well, it's an interesting season. A lot of new faces. Brand new offensive line. Not a single running back on the roster that had 5 carries last year. Not any starting wide receivers. So a lot of question marks. A lot of new faces. Now you got an experienced quarterback in Luke Maglione, who's had 22 starts already going into his senior year. So the hope is that he'll be able to direct the traffic, get guys going. Get rid of the ball quickly, as we've seen in years past. Sometimes, you don't need a great offensive line. Some of the schools in the Northeastern Conference have been able to play the quick game, get the ball out quick. I mean, I said, if you get the ball out in 3 seconds, it doesn't matter if it's Warren Sapp or Micah Parsons or whoever coming at you. You don't have to. You just got to get in the way type of thing. So. I think for them, number one, trying to figure out how they're going to establish a running game is going to be really important to try
Yeah.
to take some pressure off. And then number two, just getting off to a decent start because the schedule is fairly difficult. I mean, you got Melrose, playoff team a year ago, Winchester, playoff team a year ago, Swampscott, state semifinalist a year ago, and then Lynn English. So I think for them, it's really paramount that they find a way to win one of these first 2 games because then you got Marblehead, then you got Masco, and then you got Beverly and Danvers, which are, right now, I think, Beverly, Danvers, and Peabody are on similar levels experience wise. And so you get to those last 2 games, you really got to find a way to win one or two of these September games. You don't want to be 1-3, 0-4 going into Masco and Marblehead.
I know we're under the clock here, but I really like the coach's son, sophomore lineman. I think he's athletic, he's talented, he's grown up around the team and the system. I think he's going to pop this year, and he's going to make people see how good of a player he can be there.
I like that. I like Matty Dresser on the line, and we'll see who catches the passes. Maybe Joakim Chavs, maybe Max Sylvia.
Okay, Nick Giannino, Gloucester Fisherman.
Yeah, Gloucester. Look, they bring pretty much everyone back from last year, and they went 5-5 last year. Obviously, ran into a buzzsaw in the Division 5 state tournament with Shawshing Tech. That team was just a powerhouse. Couldn't hang with them, but they bring back everyone. 4 junior captains from last year. They're all back as senior captains. They got a great run game led by Joe Allen, Thomas Cribbs, and Jalen Severino, who missed time last year with a concussion, but he seems to be back healthy and he'll do the kicking duties for Gloucester most likely as well, punting, kickoffs. But that's a kid that just has next level speed. Had a bunch of big runs last year before got hurt. And, in this wing T system that Dan O'Connor implemented starting last year, they're going to be running the ball a ton. And they got three guys at least that'll, give them good runs out of there. Up front, they got a couple wrestlers, Max Thomas, Zach Ashley, a couple guys that come to mind for me. Jared Johnson's another guy that's a captain this year. He'll be key on the line as an offensive lineman and linebacker. They got a decent tight end there, and Gavin Bren had a nice season for himself last year. He's going to be back as another senior captain too. So things are, expectations are pretty high for Gloucester this year. I think they have a good chance to increase their win total. Like I said, they went 5-5 last year. They had that one game they weren't able to play because of the teachers' strike, so that's why they only had 10 games last year. But looking to get off on a strong foot against Beverly Friday night. They will be hosting that game, which is good for them. They had a close one season opener last year at Beverly, so they'd love to get some revenge there on the home turf. And then it's off to Falmouth and St. Mary's Lynn, Bishop Fenwick, and then back into the bulk of their NEC schedule. So I think, yeah, the Fishermen
All right, you're
make some
done.
moves this
Thank
year.
you.
All right.
So speaking of the Garden City and that opener with Beverly Gloucester, I think that's one of the most interesting games of this opening weekend. And
Yeah.
let's hear about Beverly from Phil, a team with some high hopes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wrote in the preview that it's been what, 7 seasons since they've had a winning year, which is really incredulous when you think about it. If you know anything about North Shore football history, Beverly has one of the great traditions, if not always at the top, certainly, they're always solid. And they've hit a downspin, and that happens. I suppose it was bound to happen at some point, but they really want to turn it around. It's a good senior class. These guys had a lot of success as freshmen, and then they've taken their lumps the last 2 years on the varsity as sophomores and juniors. So they really want to turn it around, make things happen this year. And they feel they have the personality and almost more importantly, the attitude to do it. Love Kenny Pierce as the quarterback. Willie, I know you do too.
Danny.
He's a great three-sport athlete. He can make a lot of things happen at quarterback, whether it's by design play, improvisation. You don't want the pocket to break down too much, and where he's forced to scramble. But when he can do his thing, he's a really talented player. I'd love to see a healthy season, excuse me, out of Sean Costa. He's another captain along with Kenny. Injuries have befell him the last couple of years, but he's a tough running back. If he can stay healthy, he'll make things happen out of that backfield. Cal McKay is another captain who's going to move from the outside inside to tight end. He's still going to be a valuable pass catcher for Beverly, but they're going to look for him more in a blocking role to help shore up that line. I think for Beverly, two of the big things for them is establish the run game this year so they're not forced to pass and stop giving up those chunk plays on defense that really hurt them a year ago. They were in some tight games where they gave up chunk plays or gave up big plays late, and that ultimately cost them. A fast start for Beverly this year, starting with a win Friday night in Gloucester, would do wonders for their confidence heading into the bulk of their season.
Tough place to play. I'd be curious to see the recent record at Newell Stadium. Maybe that'll show up in the Salem News
Yeah.
in Friday's edition.
Yeah.
All right, Willie, why don't we move across the Memorial Bridge to our friends from Salem? How are the Witches going to be?
So the Witches are an interesting team. They really, I believe their record a year ago was a bit deceiving, right? 4-7, but they lost two of their last three games by a grand total of 3 points.
Yeah.
Went for the win on a 2-point conversion against Pentucket,
That's
and
right.
then had that furious finish against Beverly. And they also had a really close game against Winthrop and a really close game against Kip. So, they're a handful of plays away from being a 6-7 win football team, and they got a lot of guys back. Now, the obvious caveat to that is they lose Rocco Ryan, who accounted for 60-70% of their offense and a lot of their scoring, right? So the big question is who's gonna step up and take care of that? Now you got Elvis Espinal, who was a starting tailback in September last year before they moved Rocco from receiver to running back. He definitely has the ability to pound the rock between the tackles. You've got Oscar Fernandez, who's a really good wide receiver on the outside that can stretch the field. And then you've got Jake Lister taking over a quarterback. Now, he's a big kid. He started at tight end last year before taking over as quarterback. I think he ended up with two starts in those last three games. ran a really good 2 minute drill in that aforementioned game against Pentucket. So he brings a good arm, but also with his tight end experience brings not only an ability to know all the plays and know all the positions, but also a little bit of bruising, right? He could run, a little bit like a Brad Skeffington type to go back into the Salem High history book. So the other thing they're really excited about in Salem is their offensive line.
Yeah.
It's one of the most experienced groups that Matt Bouchard has brought back in his 12 years there on the staff. So having a good line is definitely helpful. They start out with an interesting game. It's Kip. Again, played a very competitive game last year. I know Jimmy Rabbit has a really great program over there. So I expect that to be a really interesting game Saturday night at Manning.
Look at you. By 2 seconds, you beat it.
Nice.
Speaking of big lines, it looks as though that's going to be the focal point for any success that Danvers has this season. Anybody want to touch upon Danvers?
I mean, I'll ask you, Phil. Like from
Yeah.
you got a chance to see them.
Yeah.
This is, I think, the third season in a row, if not the fourth season in a row, that they've graduated a kid who carried the ball 75, 80% of the time, had 1 million yards, right? And I feel like every year we say, oh, well, who's going to replace Gazanowski? Well, it's Shanbar. Who's going to replace Shanbar? I throw it to you.
I think this year, Willie, it's going to be Jack Houston, and I think there'll be a few more mouths to feed than we've seen in recent years. There won't be that Gaskonowski, Matt McCarthy, Owen Shanbar type guy. But Jack Houston, to me, is the athlete that's going to make that happen if there is going to be a bell cow guy in Danvers. I really liked what I saw out of him last year as a sophomore. Now, if you look at the stats, he didn't compile a whole lot. He hardly ran the ball. He only caught a handful of passes, but that was the first year of a new double wing system they used. A lot of sophomores playing skill positions, a beat up line that was further hurt by injury. So they were really kind of piecemealing things last year. So many of those linemen are back, led by Captain Mason Ellsworth in the middle. They have anywhere from 10 to 12 what they feel are varsity linemen they can use. Big boys who know how to block, who know how to open holes in this offense. And I think Houston is a kid who's going to benefit from that. He's athletic, he's quick. Most of all, he's tough and he's a gamer. He got beat up a lot last year that I saw. I can think of a game in Winthrop where he was being picked up off the turf at Miller Field multiple times, and he just kept coming back for more. I love that in a player. I think that suits that backfield role pretty well. I really think Danvers could surprise some people. Not a lot of people are talking about them as a potential NEC title team, and I understand why, but I think they're going to be better than people think.
Well, they always win at least one game that they're not quote unquote supposed to win,
That's
right?
right. And
So we'll see
that's
which
coaching
one.
right there. Great
Which
coaching
one will
staff.
it be? We'll see.
All right. The team that seems to be most people's favorite to unseat Marblehead atop the NEC, and whether that happens or not, we don't know. But the Chieftains of Masconomet. Willie, you've had a chance to do some deep dives on them. Tell us about Masconomet.
So I'll give people a quick preview. I'm going to tennis ball this back to you for Marblehead because I
Okay.
will say that from my perspective, and I see Marblehead's already talking about being the underdog, which is typical for Marblehead.
Mhm.
If they didn't run the spread offense, I'd suggest they bring Roger Day back to run their Ministry of Propaganda.
I was just going to say it's Roger Day 101. But Masco, please.
I was gonna say Roger could be executive director of sandbagging. To me, Masco's got a lot to prove, right? And that's what the captain said to me when I had a chance to speak to them. They said, last year was the start of a new chapter, right? But the book isn't written yet. That was from Lucas Magnifico, carrier of a 5.0 GPA. He's a pretty smart kid, and he's given us these analogies. Yeah, they have a lot of all conference players back. Magnifico being one. Cal Weidman being one, and of course Jack Fabiano, the North Shore rushing champion. It's been 10 years since somebody went back to back as North Shore rushing champion. He could be the guy to do it. The only reason he wouldn't is if they spread his carries around to keep him fresh, which
Which they
we'll
could,
see.
a la Connor Cronin and Marblehead a few years ago. We saw that same thing,
It's entirely possible. But
and then Connor
so
ripped it up in the playoffs.
the good thing for Masco is that they have a lot of guys back. They have experience, so they're going to be able to help their schemes a little bit, right? Add on to that. The bad thing is they're not going to sneak up on anybody this year, right? Like Bill Ricca, they kind of sniped last year. I think, Peabody, they kind of sniped last year. Like, people weren't sure what to make of them. Now they got a bullseye on their back. So the question is, how do you respond to that? And I certainly think they have the athletes and the scheme to do that. But, it's high school kids. You got to rise to the occasion every week. And that's been their motto. They every day of practice, they say, let's be climbers. So they understand that they're at the bottom of the mountain and they're trying to climb their way back up. But, if we did a preseason poll, Phil, Marblehead or Masco would definitely be one or two in the NEC. So let's talk about the Magicians. It's been a long time since they haven't been the de facto favorite, and I have a hard time. If it was my vote, they'd be number one on my list. So tell me about the team a little bit.
Well, I think, you kind of mentioned that underdog mentality that they have and taken out of the Lou Holtz playbook kind of thing, like, oh, we're in trouble against this Sisters of the Blind, that kind of thing. Um, but I think there is some validity to that in the fact that they lost a ton of guys. They have a lot of inexperience this season. However, if you flip that around, there's still Marblehead. If you want to just break it right down, like in our business, we call it a nut graph. Like, what's the most important thing that people need to know in your story? Like in this story, they're still Marblehead, so they're not just going to fall off the table, go 4-7, and not be a factor.
Well, and they murdered everyone in 7-on-7,
They
right? We
killed
talked coach
everybody seven on
quarterback.
seven, went 22-0, I think, this summer for whatever that's worth.
Yeah,
No
we talked
pads, no
coach quarterback.
linemen.
They got a heck of a coach and a heck of a quarterback. This Finn
Took the
Gallup guy,
words right out of my mouth. Yeah, excellent. Not only head coach, but coaching staff in Marblehead. They're great at in-game adjustments. Finn Gallup was a co-starter a year ago. He's going to take the reins full time this year. I see him having a monster season. He's got a lot of guys that he can throw to, a lot of talented guys. I think you highlighted Rylan Golden in one of our, or you foresaw Rylan Golden in one of our crystal ball previews having a breakout season. I think that's going to be true. And defensively, they just get after it every play. They're coached so well. They may not have the depth that Masco has, but they have players who may not be household names, but by the end of the season, you're going to be like, yeah, that collective group did it again, and they're 9-2 or whatever it is. So I think it's going to be a great race in the conference, and Marblehead is very much a part of that.
absolutely.
All right, Willie, you want to talk a little bit about Swampscott coming off of a Division Six state semifinal appearance? They're now bumped up. They're one of the few teams we have that's been bumped up a division. They're Division Five and lost a lot of guys, including the program's all-time leading tackler, Liam Keeney.
Yeah, we head down Atlantic Avenue and we see what's going on. I mean, you want to talk about the number of guys that they lost. The quarterback, John Von Barta, he completed 139 passes a year ago, and the guys on the receiving end of 126 of those are gone, right? So that's a lot of new faces in that spread offense. Now it's good to have a great offensive line in front of him, led by Vaughn Hazel, the beast, one of the best linemen in the area,
Yep.
if not in the region. So who's going to catch those passes? Well, you got Chase Grudhuse, who we know from baseball and basketball. He didn't play football the last 2 years, but he's back. He's 6'3". And then you got another Bascon coming through, Noah. He's electric. He's a little bit thinner than his brothers, Xavier and Isaiah. So he's more of a true wide receiver than a hybrid running back, Brian Westbrook type. But with the ball under his arms, and especially in the kick return game, he's going to be super dangerous. And then, of course, the thing that people don't realize about Swampscott is when they're really good, they have a really good running game, right? They
Yes.
always have. It's not just passing. It's your Alex Stones. It's your Dylan Januaries. It's your Xavier Baskins. Last year it was Henry Butler had 1,200 yards rushing. And this year they have Will Bush, the son of Coach Peter Bush, third generation Swampscott guy with Grandpa Bill, who took the team to a Super Bowl. So he's going to get his chance to be the bell cow back. He has the profile of a 1,000-yard rusher, and I actually really like Jamison O'Keefe as a change of pace scat back guy. There were a few games late last year. I remember watching the tape when Swampscott would be, picking on some poor team and they'd throw O'Keefe in there at the end and he's ripping off 25, 30-yard runs. I mean, he was a lot more than just a JV guy. I think, he's going to be a really dangerous guy for them too. So
And
they
I
come
see
out of the
Bush
gate
being
with
one of the best and most complete two-way players in the North Shore because he's going to be right there among our tackles leaders too, as a middle
tremendous
linebacker.
experience. And the only question with Swampscott is, what are they going to be able to do in the power rankings, down in the NEC Lynch? I mean, I would say they're prohibitive favorites in the NEC Lynch.
All right, did we hit all of our conference teams?
I think that's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Yeah.
That's eight. Okay. So
Nailed it.
let's move on to the Cape Ann League. Nicholas, let's hear from you.
Sure.
Manchester Essex Hornets. Big Zach Hurt is back under center. That means good things.
Yeah, I mean that's where it starts and finishes with him, right? He had just a ridiculous season last year, obviously doing it with his legs, doing it a little bit with his arm down the stretch. I think he finished with over 1,400 rushing yards, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was the top mark in the entire area. Quarterback, running back, doesn't matter. And he's back as a senior, so with him under center, you got to like your chances, right? But they got some other good pieces as well. I wrote about a sophomore running back that really came along last year. Um, God, what's his name? Not Conrad Garfield. Oh, Noah Cohen. He's got some skill. He's got some speed. They got a pretty big line. I'm just pulling up the preview here. God, we wrote these so early in the season. Walker Vallejo, that's the guy I wanted to highlight. He's just a monster on the line.
Had a good lacrosse season.
What's that?
He had a very good lacrosse season.
He had a very good lacrosse season, and I noticed at one of the lacrosse games how big he had gotten. And Coach Joe Grimes was at one of those games because the lacrosse team made a deep run, I think, to
Yeah,
the
they
state
did.
semifinals in Division Four. And he was there, and I said, "Man, Walker's looking big." He's like, "Yeah, we're excited to have him back." So he's another guy on the line that could move some bodies around. And like I said, they got some skill pieces. I think head coach Joe Grimes is going to want to mix it up in the offense a little bit. Like I said, they did go to the pass a little bit more down the stretch last season, and Hurd, proved to them that he could throw the ball. He could throw a nice little deep ball. They might go downfield a little bit more with that, but it's all going to come down to the running game, I think. And Zach Hurd leads the charge there alongside Cohen. Felix Wood is back. He was a leading receiver last year. Charlie Thurlow is another guy that can catch some balls. So I think Manchester Essex is poised for another good year.
All right, Nick, let's stay in the Cape Ann League with another Essex. Essex Tech, third year for them in the conference. And for me, they have some talent there. That's kind of led by the quarterback, Jacoby Casanelli Tarasu, excuse me.
Yeah, he's the guy there too. Obviously, what's this, his third year as quarterback, I believe?
Like really fourth. I think he started like midway through his freshman year.
Okay, yeah, so he's got a ton of experience. He pretty much leads them in every category coming back other than receiving. They got Tim Frymouth taking over at the helm, coming over from Hamilton Wenham. He's a guy that's going to work with Dan Connors, who was there with the program as a head coach for 8 years. And Tim knows his football, right? He's a guru. We all know his brother Pat, tight end for the Steelers in the NFL, but Tim was a good football player himself, on the line at Springfield College, and he's going to bring a different toughness, a different, mentality to that program alongside Connors, who will stay on as an assistant. Willie, were you chiming in there?
Oh no, I was just gonna say they got some good receivers. Xavier Parsons, Mekhi Obey.
Yep.
I think Jasper Casanelli Tarasuik, the quarterback's brother, is a really good athlete. And they had an undefeated freshman team last year. That they beat some teams from the NEC in freshman football, which, make of that what you will. Your mileage may vary, but
Well,
I
Tim,
think
yeah,
this is a
Frymuth,
team.
Frymuth did mention, a lot of talented sophomores that he's going to rely on this year, and they have like 87 kids in the program,
Yeah,
so
it's a team on the come. They're
it
taking a
really
lot of
And
is.
that's the
kids
thing.
from a
It's like
lot of towns
Frymouth
around
is
here.
going from a situation in Hamilton where, you have a limited number of players at your disposal to Essex Tech where, maybe the wins aren't there or weren't there last season, but a huge roster of players to choose from.
And a
Yeah,
lot
and
of
that's
different
been the
levels. I
case
mean,
for a
some of
few
them.
years now, but it hasn't translated. At least last year it didn't translate. But from everything Tim Frymouth was telling me, he's super excited about this season. He thinks the boys are locked in. They're excited about the changes and some of the schemes and things like that. And I think they have a chance to, turn forth a winning campaign.
All right, boys, what about his former team over at Hamilton Wenham? I mean, I think it's super exciting for the Generals athletic program in general, no pun intended there, but to finally have their new turf facility is going to be a big parade, let's call it, a festive atmosphere this weekend. Football open Friday night, and then a big to-do Saturday night in town. But what about the actual team itself? With former Pingree head coach Mike Flynn taking over.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to know what to expect, right? Where Essex Tech has, like I said, almost 90 kids. This team has just over 30, I believe. So it's a little bit of a different situation. And Flynn's going to come in and implement the spread that, he had so much success with in Pingree. I think 37 wins in 5 years with Pingree, four bowl game appearances, and obviously, different talent pool over there in Pingree, much different conference. But Flynn is excited to get started in Hamilton Wenham. He has a experience with a lot of these kids, coaching them at the youth level, so he knows them. His son's on the team, Joseph Flynn. I believe he's a sophomore.
Yep.
Not sure how much we'll see of him this year, but he's in the program on the varsity roster. And like
Well,
you
they have a
said,
stud in Caden Schrock. I mean, he'd be a
that's what I was
good
going.
player on any team in our region.
Yeah, Caden had a nice year last year, over 1,000 yards rushing, 9 touchdowns. He's back as a senior captain. I think. As much as they're going to go to the spread and probably try and throw the ball a little bit more, Caden's going to be that guy that they can go to, and rely on from a game by game basis in the run game. And he's obviously a force at linebacker too on the other side. But the quarterback they're bringing in at this point, anyway, early in the season, is a junior, Anthony Folger. He was on the JV team last year, did a lot of good things for the JV team, and Flynn's going to put the ball in his hand and let him go to work a little bit with this spread offense. So it'll be interesting to see that. Luke Molitano is one guy that should look at for catching a lot of passes this year.
Nick, just wrapping up the Cape Ann League, you seem to get a really good vibe when you talk to Zach Lampkin over in Ipswich. He feels like this could be a turnaround season for the Tigers.
Yeah, I've talked to Zach, 4, 5, 6 years now, or however long he's been there, and every year, he's kind of tempering expectations. It's not a very big program. I think they had 31 guys come out for the team this year, which was better than what they had last year, but still not a lot of room for error. Injuries happen, and they're a little thin overall. But he's really excited with the talent they got, the size they got. He likes what he's seen on the offensive line from them, which could be a strength for them. And, he does have an experienced quarterback coming back in Vin Winter
Yep.
to run the show. He knows the system. He's got some decent skill position guys. James Dick is back after a pretty solid year running the ball last year. So, it's tough to say, but I'll tell you that Zach Lampkin was very excited. He said he hasn't had a team this deep, talented, experienced, hungry, all of the above in his 5 years coaching there. And obviously, they're looking to get off the schneid. They haven't had a winning season since, I believe, the Fall 2 campaign, 2021, when they did go undefeated,
Yeah, it
6
was 6-0 that
year.
year. And I did
Yeah.
notice that there are quite a few guys, obviously small school, multiple athlete kind of thing. A lot of guys that were on that very successful lacrosse team in the spring. You mentioned Winter, but Will Gromko, Luke Weil, guys like that are going to play integral parts for Ipswich football this fall.
Yeah. They got some athletes for sure. And like I mentioned, I think he's really excited about that line. This kid, Henry Latarella, 6'2", about 250, 260. He's a big boy. I mean, anytime you can get some real good size on the line in the Cape Ann League, that's going to be super helpful. And it seems like they got that core to move some bodies around up front, which could be good for them.
All right, we got three teams left, boys. Let's start first with Pingree. Willie, it's the year two with Pat at the helm there in Pingree. And I'm curious to know, after a rare losing season, what they can do, what the Highlanders can do to turn things around.
Well, I think I mean, they dropped four of their last five, right?
Should
Which
say
is
Pat
tough.
Downey, not just refer to him as Pat, but Patrick
They
Downey, head
they
coach.
they play a tough schedule, right? They're playing a couple of ISL teams this year, so they're not hiding from anything. But there was a lot of ownership in the offseason that Coach Downey talked about. They're going to rejigger their offense a little bit. They're going to try to play to Jack Spear's strengths a little bit more than they did last year. That means pushing the ball downfield. That means finding guys open. Now they got Jonah Richardson, the University of Maine commit, who can stretch a field as well as anyone and really catch a ball on third downs.
And a guy who can really get him the ball too in
Well,
Spear.
Spear, right? Yeah, this offense is going to run around Spear. I mean, last year the offense ran around Cole Pyazinski, which was not a bad decision. I mean, he's a senior, he's a college football player, but now they're really going to put it in the hands of the quarterback and let him kind of dictate things instead of trying to dictate the run game and the play action and stuff like that. And I think we've seen Pingree no matter who the coach is, whether it's Chris Powers, Mike Flynn, or now Pat Downey. I mean, when they commit to the spread and when they allow their quarterback to do damage, that's when they have success. That's kind of like running the ball if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Is putting it in the air if you're Pingree. So I love what they're gonna do. I love their line. I mean, they have the Castillo twins, they have Medeiros. They have John Panagal, who's, a scholarship player. I mean, if this kid was at St. John's Prep or Catholic Memorial, he'd be on the cover of, the Herald every week, getting all these scholarship offers. He's only a junior. He's over 300 pounds. I mean, so Jack Spears is not going to have any trouble on the blind side, would be my guess, with Big John out there.
All right, and you mentioned the Herald real quick here. I think we would be remiss if we didn't say this will be the first fall in forever that our friend Danny Ventura is not going to be running the ship at the Ye Olde Herald when it comes to the high school sports stuff. There was no one better than him, and we wish Danny V a happy retirement. Nobody did it better, Paisan. Great job for you. All right. Bishop Fenwick, any thoughts there, gentlemen? I can dive in, or if one of you have something you want to say, go right ahead.
Tough finish to them last year, and I think hopefully they'll come back hungry, right? I mean, they were 6-0, right? Or
Yeah.
was it, no, I'm sorry, 5-0, and then lost their last three. I think the experience they bring back and the hunger they're going to bring back. I know they graduated a lot of important people, but they got a lot of important people back too, starting with their two linebacker slash running backs, Dylan Pattarelli and Ty Connolly. I mean, is there a better 1-2 punch on the North Shore than those two guys right off rip? I can't think of one.
No, and how do you split up who's gonna get the so-called bulk of the carries? I mean, is this a true split? Is it based on game management? Is it based on matchups, which I would think it would be? Are there games that Dylan's going to get the ball 20 times and Tyler might touch it eight, and vice versa? I mean, that's going to be difficult to game plan, I would say, if you're a defense. And I think they have more depth than they thought they were going to have too. Um, They've got some guys that they didn't expect that were going to step up. I mean, Damon Mataragas, Nick, you probably know him from basketball. Had a good
Mhm.
freshman season on the high court, decided to come out for football after having played as a youth. He's going to help them out. They have a huge lineman in Louis Levisinski, who was injured for most of last year, but he's 6'2", about 310 pounds. He's got
Jesus.
Division I written all over him. And he's not just a big body. He can play. He can really drive that pile and push it. Um, so I think Fenwick is going to be a good team. Health dependent, like most of our teams. They're not super deep, with the exception of St. John's Prep. None of our teams really are deep, but health considered, I think Fenwick could really make some waves this season.
Little crazy, and I'll put a pin in it, and we can discuss it on a future show. But little crazy that Fian and St. Mary's have absconded from the CCL. I mean, it's not like they had bad power rankings. I mean, I think Fenwick is still playing both of them. So will
Yeah,
we
they
care if
are.
they play Stang or whoever? But that was a little weird.
Well, what I don't understand about Fian is like you came into the league along with Bishop Stang, what, 3 or 4 years ago?
Mhm,
And you knew the schedule you were playing. Like,
mhm.
this is the league. This is who you play in the league. If you don't like it, why did you join the CCL? Like, it
Right.
doesn't make any sense to me. Now, you want to go off and be, Notre Dame, oh, we're going to be independent, blah, blah, blah. Like, knock yourself out. But then you're leaving the league.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Some of these teams that we've seen Fenwick play, and I won't name names, but
yeah,
some of the teams in the league have been pretty bad,
the
and
dregs. Yeah, yeah. But
maybe
you
they
only
should
play the
have a
schedule you have.
maybe they should have had like a north and a south, right? Like the NEC does, so that you don't maybe the powerhouse, Marblehead doesn't play Saugus anymore. Maybe they need something like that instead of leaving. But again, not to belabor that's a different topic. When
No, no,
when
no. I
when
mean, a
when,
little
when
birdie
Fenwick plays
told me
Fiend,
that
we'll
they
dive
wanted to
into that.
do Fee and St. Mary's and Fenwick in one division and then the rest in the other and whatever. But all right, on to St. John's Prep last. We just said, hey, they have tons of players and depth and whatnot, but I'm not so sure they have the depth, at least to start the season, that they've had in years past. You guys get a read on them at all?
I mean, they got pretty high end players. I mean, they obviously the quarterback is a 5-star kid. He's only a sophomore. They're putting a lot on his plate. We'll see how he responds to it. I mean, responded to it reasonably well for the most part last year, but now you don't have Duke Robillard to hand, the reins to when times get tough, and you've got even more
Deacon
attention.
Robillard.
It's one
Yep.
thing coming in as a freshman 4 star, now coming in as a freshman 5 star. I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but there is a difference between, oh, he's one of the top 20 in the country, and oh, he's number two. Like,
In his
that
age group, right,
could
as a
be a
quarterback.
lot of pressure.
Yep.
I love the running backs. I mean, Taribo's a really fast kid with a lot of power. I like
Maxwell
those.
Parent is going to play a big role in that backfield too, coming over from St. Mary's.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had transfers. I thought that wasn't well. Anyway, I love what Pearson Scala does to stretch the field. We know Riley Selve can move the sticks underneath, so I think their receiving core could actually be better than last year. I mean, they ran so much stuff through Barlow. You take that away, you're almost better because you're going to spread the ball around more. It's like the Patriots losing Randy Moss type of thing. You know, there's only 3 or 4 teams in the state that belong on the same field as them that can play them into the fourth quarter, right? So it's the same old story. What are we really talking about? We're never going to know how good they are, except the great news is one of those 3 or 4 teams is coming in Friday night, Phil. So maybe we will get to find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Just want to mention Alex Teresi, Aaron Radke are two of the only three starters back. They'll be defensive linchpins. How the line plays, it's virtually a brand new line. I think combined, their guys have 5 career starts coming into the year. So that's going to be huge
Well, it's
for
got to be
them.
more than that, right? I mean, Urzik
No,
alone started 4 games, and they had that
that was
freshman
it.
that played
4, and
against
then one other
CM.
guy with 1. Yeah.
What happened to him?
Who's that?
Wasn't there a freshman tackle they brought in the year they beat CM when
Yeah, out. Left
Cam
last
LaGrassa
year.
ran from
Out.
what he
Transferred
transferred?
out. I want to say Brooks or something. I don't know.
Oh, well, hey,
Uh,
you win some, you lose some. I
you
guess
win
it's
some,
like
you lose some. There you go.
it
All
it
right.
hey, it's like school choice for them, you know. You have some go out, you have some come in.
That was I think that was pretty good, guys. We got all 15 in and just a little bit over a half hour here. That was complete. We're not boring anybody or anything like that. I want to reiterate, we're going to touch on our other fall sports. We got a lot of exciting stuff with soccer, golf, field hockey, cross country, volleyball, but we'll get to that in another podcast. Today is football only. We previewed all of our teams. The games start Friday night. Gentlemen, let's end with a blind ranking. These are becoming quite popular, and I'm not
Do
going to
it.
lie and say we don't have fun doing them here. So I have what I thought is a kind of out of the box blind rankings for you guys today. I want you to rank these schools 1 through 5 based on if they changed uniform colors with their arch rivals and how they would look. Okay. So I
Okay.
want to start. What if Ipswich wore silver and blue like Hamilton Wenham? 1 to 5, how is that going to look?
Does
Nick?
one like good or bad?
Yeah, yeah. One like, oh, that's a really good look for them and why it would be a good look
Now,
or
does it does everything change? The field colors, everything, the school
everything changes.
colors.
So
Okay.
they adopt Ipswich goes away from orange and black, and they are now wearing, I know that cup, Willie, I've seen that before. Um, they are now wearing silver and slate blue, I guess you'd call it.
I put them at 2. I could see a tiger being more of like a saber-toothed tiger type deal with
I
those
like
colors.
that.
Uh, I think that could work.
Okay, Willie?
So I'm gonna stick with my initial reaction was 4 because I don't think like the cat, the paws, like that being blue doesn't really work for me. I mean, you got like
Wilmington did
you got
it.
you got like Kansas State is like purple, but then Nick makes a good point. If you flip that, if the background's blue and the cat is white,
Yeah.
that might work. But I'm not gonna steal that from you, so I'm gonna stick with 4.
Okay. What if the Gloucester fishermen wore blue and white and were not maroon and what's that, gray?
I'm gonna put that number 2. I like that. I never really understood why Gloucester is maroon.
Maybe
All
because
the
like you
stuff.
think if fishermen get marooned?
Yeah, I get
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah, it's like because the statue when you drive into town is green, right? The newspaper is green. the logo that the newspaper uses is green. I always felt like the green would be better, so I think there's a lot you could do with blue. The ocean's blue.
Right.
I kind of like that idea. I was never into the Gloucester Marine. I don't like their helmets. Just having a red helmet. I mean, it just doesn't do much for me. I feel like it could be they could do better.
All right, Nick, Gloucester Times Sports Editor. How would they look in enemy royal blue and white?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna go three just for the water factor. I think you can really play with play with that with the blue. But I'm with Willie. I think the green would make a lot more sense. But
Like a
let's
Manchester green or like a Lynn Classical green or
I don't
North
know,
Reading
more
green?
like
Like a
a leaf
Packer
green, I
green?
guess.
Like well, Packer uniforms, green and yellow?
Yeah, maybe no, I don't think the yellow would really work. I don't know. That's something to think about.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of what you're saying, blue and white, I think right in the middle there is fine. I think they could pull it off, but I don't think it'd be my first choice.
Okay. I know it's a verboten, dirty word in Salem, but what if the witches were orange and black like Beverly?
I'm gonna go three,
Okay.
and I don't think anybody's gonna be too upset about this. I mean, the Brewer Riches, who they play in the Ken Perone Bowl, are orange and black. So there's already built-in merchandise. You just outsource
And
the stuff up there, and you're all set.
what holiday do you equate witches to?
Halloween, baby, pumpkins,
And
orange.
what are the two colors you equate with Halloween?
Yeah. I'm gonna put it at one. I think it'd be an easy swap. I love the classic red and white that they have, and
Yep.
we've done the logo series, and I think the witch finished pretty high on that one a
Yep.
few years back, if not the top one. I
And would
want
it
to
be a
remember.
stretch to see the witch orange and black? No.
No, it wouldn't be. Yeah. You could throw a little pumpkin in there or something. If you want to get weird, maybe a little jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that. I think that would work and would look the part. So let's put them at one because I don't know what we got left here.
All right. Now, this one would require a complete nickname change. But what if Swampscott went to red and black of Marblehead? They couldn't be the big blue. So would they become the big red, or would you
Big
change it
red.
altogether, or what? Like, I mean, that would be wild to me seeing Swampscott come out in like red and black uniforms.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it at five. I don't like
Same.
it. I mean, even if they went back to the old Michigan helmets, there's not many of those that are red either. So I just they'd have to like maybe do something with the pirate flag motif that Dembo used to bring out if they went to black. But
Hmm.
I'm gonna I have one and five left. I'm gonna take a risk because now one is out of my hands, but I'm gonna put it at five. The big blue
Okay.
gotta be blue.
All
I'm
right,
throwing
Nick.
them at five too. Similar reasons. I don't think that would work. I wouldn't like it. Like you said, they'd have to change the mascot. Throwing it at five. I only got four and five left, but that's going at the bottom.
Okay. And lastly, I'm staying with football rivalries here. What if Peabody went away from its beautiful blue motif that they have, a mixture of the different blues, and adopted the straight red and white of Saugus?
Who is the team? Sorry, I missed that.
Peabody,
PBD. Red and
yes.
white.
I mean, I
Got it.
guess that's number one. See, I don't even know like is Sargus really their rival? I mean,
Well, I'm saying
I don't know.
football wise, it's a
Yeah, Thanksgiving opponent maybe, but I don't know if that's been a real
All
rivalry
right,
since
so you know
like
what? Let's scrap that. I'll give you another
1962.
one. I'll give for the first time in the blind rankings history, I will throw it up, toss it out. What if we switched Bishop Fenwick from the black and gold that they have now to more of like the Michigan type colors that St. Mary's has, like that
I'm
navy
into
blue
it.
and
I'm
yellow.
happy with that as my number one. I've tricked you. I've
Ah,
Jedi mind tricked you. This is
you
great
what? How
because
did
I
I let
think
this happen? What are you, one of
you've
my
still
kids? Like,
you've still got the gold that you
yeah.
could do for the Crusader, for the Knight, for the Lance, and then
You
that
just didn't want
beautiful.
Peabody going red. That's what it is, isn't it?
Well, it's just
Yeah, I know.
As he's rocking red.
I was gonna say,
that's right.
I've known
That's
you
right.
for over 20 years. Come on. You
Well, they
just
don't really. It's just they don't
shame
really
on
have a
me.
rival. I mean, so my number one originally, I wanted it to be Beverly because I think you could do a lot with black and red. You got Northern Illinois, Northeastern, there's a lot of black and red cats out there. I think one of the Nevada schools has that scheme, so I thought you could do a lot with that. But
UNLV.
I think this Fenwick situation is tremendous. I mean, I think if you get the same Crusader in gold with a beautiful blue background, I'm into that. And we'd probably be able to read the numbers a lot better because
Yeah, that's
the
Yeah,
true.
gold and
true.
white numbers they have, it's like forget about it.
So by default, Nick, you have them at 4.
Yeah, I have them at 4. I probably would have put them right in the middle somewhere, 3 or 4 anyway. So that works for me.
All right, so our lists are Nick, you have at number 1 Salem wearing the Halloween orange and black. You'll probably never be allowed in Salem again for saying that. Number 2 is Ipswich wearing the what do you is it cobalt blue and gray or silver of Hamilton Wenham.
Yeah.
Your Gloucester Fishermen rocking the royal blue and white of Danvers. Fenwick, as we just said, with the St. Mary's colors, and Swampscott as a red alternative as a low number 5. Will, you also have Swampscott number 5. You have Ipswich at number 4. Salem at number 3, Gloucester at number 2, and you mind tricked me with see all your Star Wars and Doctor Who watching paid off because you tricked me into tossing out the Tanners, and Fenwick is at number 1. All kidding aside, that idea came to me recently, and I'm like, we could have a lot of fun with this. Just like imagining what it would be like to see these teams and colors, and that's just with like what we consider to be traditional rivals. Imagine what it was like if you just said like, oh, what if Salem had Gloucester's colors, or if Salem had whoever's colors, that kind of thing. So
I'll tell you what, I'm just thinking of my school, Pentucket.
yeah,
Now that they're the Panthers, and I guess Triton would be considered their rivals, I think that would work
a
with the
blue
Yeah,
blue
that's pretty
panther,
good.
Yeah, the Sachem, no shot, but the Panther, I think that would work.
like Carolina blue. I would switch it from that Triton blue, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit, a little different shade of blue maybe, but the white would work too.
Maybe like a Georgetown blue,
Yeah,
with that.
I could see it.
But all right, well, you know what? Like we know our stuff. We are your so-called football experts. Use that term as loosely as you want, but we like to have fun too, which is why we do these blind rankings. We get a lot of feedback for it. So, hey, excited to start the high school football season tomorrow night. Excited that we've already had some games that we've all been to already. The summer's a blast and we all love it, but we're all ready to get back to some game watching and writing about. So glad that we're here. Enjoy your favorite team. Root them on. Please follow along with us, read the paper, follow online, follow our tweets and socials and all that. For Nick Giannino, Matt Williams, I am Phil Stacy. Thanks for watching Bandied About. We'll see you out at the games.